When reading the Rory and Spring chapters, one concept was made clear. Education in the 1700s was primarily a way to spread religion and the idea of citizenship. Although the colonization of America started because immigrants searched for religious freedom from England, Europeans aimed to make one standard religion in America. Today, education has evolved to teach students one form of history from the point of view of those original white immigrants. The idea that Christopher Columbus came to America and was the first one to discover it is often taught in schools today. However, he was the first European to discover it, as Native Americans had already colonized this land. According to Rory, Native Americans were often thought of as inferior, and the early immigrants tried to civilize them by teaching religion. Though the education of the 1700s was aimed at making society have a standard religion, today church and education are supposed to be kept separated. Historically, the white man has been privileged. As quoted in Spring, Ben Franklin, like all other white men, encouraged European settlers to take over American land. He said, "Why increase the sons of Africa by planting them in America, where we have so fair an opportunity, by excluding all blacks and tawnies, of increasing the lovely white?" Education back then was for the white man to teach to deculturalize Native Americans and other minority groups. Like Franklin, Noah Webster feared a multicultural society in America. With all the oppression that Native Americans faced, such as Andrew Jackson imposing the Trail of Tears as referenced in Spring's text, Native Americans still faced discrimination. Although public education has moved away from deculturalization being its main goal, people still exist called missionaries who spread their knowledge of God to around the world. For example, not too long ago, my great-uncle was a missionary in South Dakota for the Native Americans. He went to spread the word of the Christian church with his wife on Native American reservations. One of the women on the reservation was pregnant with twins, so my great-uncle volunteered to take her to the hospital. When they returned to his car with the two babies, my uncle offered to help the woman take them back inside. She paused and said, "Oh no, that is all right. I have too many." My great-uncle and aunt then adopted the twins. I have learned some of the reasons why the mother felt she could not support the two newborns from the news. Native Americans struggle with poverty still today, and I saw this firsthand when I traveled to Arizona, New Mexico, Colorado, and Utah. They owned little stores on the side of the roads and sold handmade jewelry and other crafts. Maybe the mother of the twins feared that she did not have the money to care for those children. Moreover, often the struggles of minorities in American society are neglected in schooling. Teachers should modify their teaching to ensure that truth is taught. I was always taught that Christopher Columbus song about how he founded America in 1492. At the end of the song, it says, "He found this land for me and you," but he found it for the Europeans as Columbus was Italian. Recently, I saw a tweet from a student who wrote a reflection about what they had learned about Columbus during the day. The student said he was very sad that they were being taught lies and knew that there were people before Christopher Columbus in America. The teacher responded on his reflection that she was disappointed in what he had written. Schools always taught me that Columbus founded America and Native Americans were just a side note. The aims of schooling in the 1700s were more macro and applied to society. The founding fathers wanted to make cultural standard for society to follow, but they were not worried about the micro aims of schooling that applied to students or schools. They wanted society to be similar and have one standardized religion, which ultimately controlled their culture. We can still see some of these effects today when only certain histories are taught, wanting students to believe a certain way. For example, schools put aside the fact that Native Americans initially inhabited this land and praise Christopher Columbus with the founding of America. Schools fail to teach about what Native Americans still experience today. We have to experience the truth for ourselves and find it out through our individual research.